So recently I bought the iPad Air 4. I added it to kind of my collection, my workflow and stuff like that. And I guess you can say I caved because the Air 4 and the Mini 6 have been pretty hype as of late, at least for me. I've been seeing a lot of videos on them and stuff like that. And I thought it would be a really interesting way to edit my photos and implement that into kind of my workflow. So I've never really been a tablet fan, to be honest, but I think the reason why was because I always thought of tablets as laptop replacements, and I thought it was just so silly because they couldn't ever really do what my laptop could do. But tablets have improved a lot across the years, and the Air 4 and the Mini 6 have been the most tempting tablets to me, like, ever. So we talk a lot about photography and travel and things like that on this channel, but sometimes we'll talk about workflow and photo editing and stuff like that because I think it is an important part of the process. So if you are in the market for the Air 4 or the Mini 6, maybe this will give you guys some sort of indication on what to think about. Let's get started. So I'm not going to go too much into the specs of the tablets and stuff themselves. I'm mainly going to talk about experience and like use case scenario, mainly from what I know. There are a lot of tech stuff out there and you guys can see those in probably different videos. They'll be more helpful with that, but just experience wise and how it's been using, that's what I kind of want to share with you guys today. So the Air 4 and the Mini 6 are really similar tablets. It was really hard for me to decide between the two of them, and they both look really cool because they have a similar design to them. They both carry kind of an older iPhone 4 aesthetic, which I really like, that kind of boxy square-ish look. And so I was having a really tough time because the Mini 6 looks so fun, you know what I mean? My primary use case scenario for either one of these tablets would have been for photo editing. I really wanted to integrate a tablet into photo editing because it seems so much more easier, seems so much more efficient, and I could have kind of a portable editing device to bring along with me to different places like coffee shops or even just the couch. So a few different things I had to think about to start off with. First one would be the processor. The Mini 6 has an A15 Bionic chip while the Air 4 was released kind of last year, I think it was, so it has a A14 Bionic chip. So processing speed for me is kind of important, and in this kind of scenario where I'd be using it mainly for photo editing, the Mini 6 would have been a better choice because it has a better and faster processor. But to be honest, I still went with the Air 4 because I feel like Apple releases a new chip every year, and it does get better every year, but it doesn't make the last year's chip irrelevant. The A14 Bionic chip is still really good, and I don't feel like it would hold me back in what I'd be using it for. Obviously, if you are thinking about having a better processor, then the Mini 6 is probably the better option for you. But if you don't care that much, the A14 is not gonna hold you back. Another thing I had to think about when comparing these two tablets was that the Mini 6 came with this new kind of center stage feature, and it has a slightly better front camera. Now I know for a lot of people this is an important feature of the tablet because a lot of people use this for Zoom calls or like FaceTime or things like that. And it can be like really extremely convenient having a camera that kind of follows you and also a better front facing camera. But for me, I actually rarely use this kind of feature, so it didn't really matter for me too much. I don't think tablet cameras, I honestly would never really use a tablet for a camera unless it got to like the point where the specs are just really insane and they're just really good cameras. I think they're not bad, but I like to take cameras with cameras, so I'm not too worried about the camera functionality of the tablet. Now let's get into the screen a little bit because I think this was probably the biggest role or factor into what made me choose the Air 4 over the Mini 6. This is the biggest difference, and is that the Air 4 sports a 10.9 inch screen, I believe it is, while the Mini 6 has like an 8.3 inch. And so this is big, this is important, and this is the hardest decision for me because I feel like size is so important in my workflow and it matters a lot to me, especially when it comes to being portable, when you need a device to bring out with you but you don't want to carry too much stuff. So in that scenario, the Mini 6 is a really good option because it's so much smaller and it's obviously more portable than the Air 4. But there's a caveat to this, obviously, because the Air 4 has more screen real estate. And I had to really choose between these two things, whether I wanted the tablet to be more portable or if I wanted more screen real estate and to be able to edit and see photos better. This brought me back to thinking about what I actually needed the tablet for, because most of my photo editing, most of my video editing, most of all that stuff is done on an actual laptop. This is the laptop I use. It has served me well, and this is my workhorse. When I'm thinking about the Air 4, I kind of want it to be something more of something that is not my main editing tool, but something that I could bring along to increase productivity when I don't feel like being at my desk all the time, or if I want to mix things up, or if I wanted to add a little bit of productivity into my daily life without being so stressed out about it. So I can edit a little bit more casually, and I can just sit on the couch, or like I said, go to a coffee shop and get some photos edited in there. I feel like that was the main purpose for me adding this into my workflow, and not meant to be a laptop replacement. So when I thought about that, it allowed me to get a better perspective on what I'd be using it for and how I'd be using it. So I don't know about you guys, but the Mini 6 seems like more of an on-the-go kind of device. It fits in your hands really well. I had to go to the Apple Store to kind of try it out and compare it with the Air 4, and that's when I really got a sense of how I would be using the two devices if I had either one. And I really like both of them, but I went with the Air 4 ultimately because I feel like when I am editing photos, I like to sit down and edit, or I like to stay in one place or stop like walking. Like, I'm not really a walk and edit guy. I'm not really a walk and go on my phone type of guy. I'm not really a walk and take notes type of guy, which I feel like the Mini 6 would be better for if you maybe have a longer commute. Maybe you're on the train, or maybe in the subway or a bus or something like that. And it's something so easy to bring out, something so portable, and it kind of almost fits in your pocket, so you can use it as kind of that device, you know what I mean? So when I'm keeping that in mind, I feel like if I got the Mini 6, I would be using it for different purposes than the Air 4. And so if I think about using the Air 4 primarily as a photo editing device, it's just a better option because the screen is bigger. I'm showing you guys Lightroom Mobile right now. I've been sort of switching over to Capture One, but they don't quite have a mobile app yet. But I do know that they are working on one right now, so we'll probably get it next year, hopefully, and that's gonna be awesome. But for now, Lightroom Mobile is actually really good. I actually really like the interface in the app, so I have no qualms using it while I still have my kind of Adobe subscription in. So if you think about editing photos on the Air 4 or the Mini 6, it's quite a big amount of difference because the Mini 6 the screen is actually fairly small. And then when you're in the program and you're in Lightroom, your sliders and stuff like that actually take up like almost half the screen. Okay, not half the screen, I'm kind of exaggerating, but they take up a good chunk of the screen already. So the actual retail space for your photo to kind of look at is going to be much smaller. So when I was trying out the Mini 6 in store, I found out that I had to kind of zoom in a lot more than I wanted to kind of see the details, the colors and stuff like that when I was editing the photos. And the Air 4 was just a more comfortable photo editing experience because the screen was bigger. So it's a caveat on both sides. If you feel like you can edit more casually on the Mini 6, then that would be better for you. But for me, I like to see more clearly the photos I'm looking at and stuff like that. So the Air 4, the screen real estate was much, much better for me. Those are kind of my thoughts on it. I feel like Air 4 is better if you feel like you need a slightly bigger screen, but something that's also portable, because it is quite portable. It's not like huge to carry around, you know what I mean? The Mini 6 is something that I feel like would be better if you need something more on the go, which is something really small to keep in your pockets or something like that. It's like a really, really big phone, you know what I mean? But for me, the Mini 6 was too small because I like to sit down when I edit. I like to look deeply into my edits, and I don't like to really edit on the go per se. That's not really my commuter style. Another thing I felt like with the Mini was it's kind of like a perfect handheld device. When I was holding it, I kind of was tempted to play games and stuff like that because it's kind of the perfect size to play games with a handheld device. So I feel like if you play a lot of games, the Mini 6 would be better for you, especially as a mobile tablet. It's just really comfortable in the hands, but that's something I had to stop myself from as well because I wanted the tablet I got to be more of a productive tool and a little bit less of a consumption kind of gaming tool, you know what I mean? So I'll get a little more detailed once I start using the Air 4 more and have integrated it further into kind of my workflow. But what I can recommend for you guys to do right now is if you're struggling between the Air 4 or the Mini 6, I recommend you go to the Apple Store and try out both. It really, really makes a difference holding both in your hands and kind of playing around with what you'd be using it for. If you don't have an Apple Store near you, maybe a Best Buy or some other electronic kind of store that would have both of those devices would better give you a feel of what you'd be looking for. I think either one of these tablets are great. I feel like you'd be happy getting either one, but it's important to think about what you'd be using it for and what kind of stuff you are doing. Because I was really, really considering getting the Mini 6, but if I thought about it, a lot of those things that I saw in the advertisements and stuff like that people are using the Mini 6 for, I don't actually do a lot of. So it didn't really fit with me to kind of like get the Mini 6. Like, I'm not a pilot or anything like that. I'm not sort of like a doctor or pharmacist who can keep it in the lab coat. It doesn't really fit into my daily life, which is something I had to be kind of honest about to myself, you know what I mean? So I wouldn't buy a device that I would end up not using that often in the case that I should be using it in. So anyways, just some things to think about. I kind of rambled on. Hopefully it helped you guys. If you like this video, please do like the video down below. subscribe to this channel for more photography stuff and all that stuff. And I'll be making a full-on review for the Air 4 a bit later. But yeah, until then, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in another video. Peace.